you believe everything you see on TV? It's a literal footage. What are you even on about? Like, you learn about gravity? How? Oh my god, chat! You're so... Let's watch... We have to watch Veritasium. I don't care. I like Veritasium. He's a great guy. Let's watch some Veritasium, chat. Let's not watch the video. Let's think. Let's find out. Is this going to be some cooked Facebook science, chat? What do you reckon? Let's go. Let's fucking... let's go. You tell me.
This video was sponsored by Caseta by Lutron.
Let's watch it.
According to the general theory of relativity, gravity is not a force. There are no gravitational fields. Gravity is kind of an illusion. And in this video, I will prove it to you by blasting off into outer space. In 3, 2, 1...
So is he retarded, Jen? Is it?
Albert Einstein said the happiest thought of his life was imagining a man falling off the roof of a house.
Or skydiver.
What made Einstein so happy about this wasn't schadenfreude. It was the realization that this man, while he was falling, wouldn't feel his own weight. He would be weightless. And anything he dropped on his way down, well, it would remain stationary relative to him, or moving in uniform motion. The whole situation would be just like...
if you were in deep space, not near any large masses, with your spaceship at rest or coasting along at constant velocity.
Here, you would feel no weight. Objects would remain stationary relative to you, or if you give them a push,
they would move in a straight line at constant velocity. And you would be the very definition of an inertial observer. You're not accelerating, not in a gravitational field. All the laws of physics apply in your reference frame. Meaning there is no experiment you could do to distinguish your inertial reference frame from any other.
Like, how trippy is that, chat? How trippy is that? How trippy? Like, think about that, dude. Like, you're out in space, dog. You're out in space. Like, which way are you moving, dude? Is the planet moving towards you? Are you moving towards it? Are you going up, down? Are you going left, right? You're in a fucking, you're in like a solar system that's inside a fucking, like, this is bullshit. You inside this, inside another thing. It's moving this way, but that's going around this other thing, which is going that way. Which way are you going, Chad? Which way are you going? Which way are you going? Are you going up, down, left, right? Which way are you moving? Where are you going? Oh, wait a minute. It's all about your frame of reference, isn't it? You fucking... Oh, wait a minute.
Now here comes the big leap. Einstein looks at these two scenarios and says they are equivalent, not just similar. Physically, they are exactly the same thing, which means man falling from roof is not in a gravitational field. There are no gravitational fields. And he is not accelerating. He is an inertial observer, just like Rocket Man. Whoa. I mean, okay,
Look, this is Twitch chat.
Can see how both of these observers feel weightless, but man falling from roof is clearly in a gravitational field. I mean, he's right next to the Earth, and he's obviously accelerating. His speed is increasing by 9.8 meters per second every second, a fact that will become painfully apparent when he crashes into the ground. I know that these two situations look very different, but Einstein's equivalence principle tells us the one thing to focus on, the experience of the observer.
Exactly.
If they feel weightless, then they are in an inertial frame of reference, every bit as good as Rocket Man's out drifting through deep space. Imagine if Rocket Man, coasting along at constant velocity and not paying attention, comes upon a planet a long way off in the distance. An external observer might notice that the path of the rocket bends ever so slightly towards the planet. But inside, Rocket Man would remain oblivious. He feels no force, experiences no acceleration. As the rocket gets closer to the planet, it goes faster and faster. But Rocket Man still feels weightless. For him, nothing has changed. So where on this journey would you say the frame of reference changes from inertial to non-inertial? An onboard accelerometer would never even register a blip.
Yep.
He has continued on his inertial path through space-time. So the logical conclusion is his frame of reference is inertial up until the instant he crashes into the planet.
Fucking nutty. Fucking nutty. Fucking nutty.
Okay, so how do you explain the curved path of his rocket without gravitational forces or gravitational fields? The answer is curved space-time.
What the
First,
fuck?
focus on Rocket Man's observation that the whole time he felt like he was
Moving with constant velocity in a straight line.
He was moving in a straight line through space-time. But space-time around massive objects like planets is curved. So that's why his path appeared curved to a distant observer. Now this isn't as unusual as it seems. Airplanes, for example, always try to fly the shortest route between cities. Essentially, they just go in a straight line. But since the Earth's surface is curved, the shortest path doesn't look like a straight line.
Nutty.
These shortest paths over curved surfaces are called geodesics. And we use that same word, geodesics, for the straight line paths followed by inertial observers through curved spacetime. Here's another analogy. Imagine you and a friend are standing 1,000 kilometers apart on the equator. Now you both set off due north. Over time, you will come closer together, ultimately bumping into each other at the North Pole. It's as though there was a force pushing you together. But you didn't feel a force, and your friend didn't feel a force. Gravity is just like that force. It doesn't actually exist. The real reason for you coming together was that you were both on straight paths, geodesics, on a curved surface.
Astronauts on the space station are weightless. That means they too are inertial observers traveling on a geodesic. But the Earth curves space-time around it, which is why their straight-line path appears as a helix. It only looks like a circular orbit if you forget the time dimension. Don't forget, we are all moving through space and time. Space-time.
This is the standard bent sheet analogy for curved spacetime.
This is what we did
but I
in
think
science.
this demo is misleading. It allows you to fool yourself into
This is what debated me. This is what I got debated by.
thinking you understand general relativity, when the intuition you're actually drawing on is just that objects like to fall towards the middle of a well
I got debated.
due to the gravitational force. But in general relativity, there is no gravitational force.
That's the
What you
crazy
should be
part.
thinking about is objects traveling on a straight line path through spacetime. It just so happens that spacetime is curved around massive objects, so that straight line path doesn't look like a straight line. Matter tells spacetime how to curve, and spacetime tells matter how to move.
Like gravity, you can still measure it. You can still use it as a unit of measurement, right? And you can still, it's just the reason why. Which is why it's like, wow, okay, nutty. Gravity's an illusion, which is like, it's still nothing changes. Everything's still the same. But it's just like, the way you think about it kind of is like a lot more mind-blowing, right? Is this not blowing your fucking mind yet? Are you not mind-blowing right now?
Now let's go back to deep space. What happens if you turn on the rocket thrusters and accelerate at 9.8 meters per second squared? Well, someone outside would see all objects remain stationary, while the floor of the rocket accelerates into them.
Here it comes, Jet.
Inside the rocket, everything would appear to accelerate down to the ground, and you would feel a force pushing up on your feet, the same force that's pushing up on you as you watch this video.
This situation feels exactly the same as being at rest on the surface of Earth. Because we are at rest on the surface of Earth. Now I want to ask you, are you watching this video in an inertial frame of reference?
Yep.
Well, I mean, do you feel weightless? No. So you are not an inertial observer. Your situation is exactly the same as someone accelerating
Here it
on a
comes.
rocket ship in deep space. And let me be clear, I don't mean that being at rest in a gravitational field is like accelerating in a rocket. I mean, it is the exact same thing.
No difference.
You are accelerating and there is no gravitational field.
No difference.
Gravitational fields do not exist. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but come with me for a minute. This is you. In standard Newtonian physics, we draw your weight force, the force of gravity pushing you down, and the normal force from the floor pushing you up. We say these forces are equal and opposite, so there's no net force on you, so you are not accelerating. But in general relativity, gravity is not a force. You have no weight, so the only force on you are these normal forces pushing you up. So you are accelerating upwards, but I'm not moving up. Relative to what? I mean, relative to the flip chart and the floor and basically
This is
everything in
chat.
this room. But
This
all
is
of
chat.
those things are in your frame of reference, which you know is not inertial. Relative to everything in my rocket ship, I'm not accelerating. What you need, if you really want to measure your acceleration, is someone in an inertial frame of reference, like the guy who fell off the roof. And he would see you accelerating up at 9.8 meters per second squared.
There it is.
I think what
there
this
it
shows is that what an acceleration really is it's a deviation from a geodesic. You can't follow a straight line path through space-time because the floor prevents you from doing that. It applies a force upwards on you, so you're accelerating up. But if I'm accelerating up, and so is everyone else around the world,
This is yo Jabba Gump. Okay, Jabba Gump donated 300 bits. I know you're betting donations, but holy shit, what if two people from the opposite sides of the world jump off a building? Is the Earth accelerating in the opposite direction at the same time?
presumably the whole surface of the Earth, then shouldn't the Earth be expanding? No. It is possible for you to be accelerating even though your spatial coordinates are not changing. I will show you one equation from general relativity. This says that the second derivative of your position with respect to time is equal to your acceleration, that's just f on m, and if you were in flat space-time, well, this is exactly what you're saying. If you're accelerating, your spatial coordinates have to change. But you're not in flat space-time. And this term is related to the curvature of space-time, and this is your velocity through time squared. You don't have to worry about the details here. The point is, your position can be not changing. This can be 0, which means your acceleration must be exactly equal to this curvature term times your velocity through time squared.
I understand.
So in curved space-time, you need to accelerate just to stand still.
Nutty.
A lot of this may
Nothing.
seem more complicated than Newtonian physics, but one classical mystery looks a whole lot simpler in general relativity, which is why all objects fall at the same rate. Now, I have made a number of videos on this topic, and I would always give the standard Newtonian explanation. The only force on a free-falling body is its weight, g(mm) on r squared, which equals its mass times acceleration. You can cancel the object's mass on both sides of the equation, hence all objects will have this same acceleration. The mystery is why we
It's funny because I've asked Twitch chat this question about it's like most of Twitch chat get this wrong.
could cancel these
Literally most of
two
Twitch chat.
m's.
Literally most
The
of
one
Twitch
on the
chat.
left was gravitational mass, the property of an object
in a vacuum,
that
chat.
creates and experiences a gravitational field, while the m on the right is inertial mass, a measure of resistance to acceleration. Why should these two conceptually different properties be numerically identical? Scientists have spent a lot of time and effort experimentally testing down to around 1 part in 10 trillion that these two types of mass really are the same. But in
So
general
gravity
relativity,
is essentially
there
a
is
simple
no
way
mystery.
to measure all this
All
bullshit.
objects appear to fall the same way because well, they're not accelerating. They're just following straight line paths through space-time until they encounter something that stops them. Like the objects in the rocket ship, they appear to accelerate at the same rate because they're not really accelerating. It's the floor accelerating into them. Now, a lot of this might seem pretty far-fetched, as it did back in 1915 when Einstein proposed it. So he very cleverly came up with a measurable prediction that scientists could make to test his theory.
Here it comes.
Imagine that this rocket ship is coasting through deep space. If you shine a light beam across the rocket ship, well, it'll do exactly what you expect. Light travels in a straight line and hits a point on the opposite wall at exactly the same height as the source. But now, what if this rocket is accelerating? Well, to an external observer, they're still going to see the same thing, light traveling in a straight line. But inside the rocket, during the time it takes for the light to travel across the cabin, the rocket will have sped up. So by the time it hits the other wall, it'll hit a little lower than before. So in an accelerating frame of reference, light deflects down. Here, I am dramatically exaggerating the effect. Even if I were accelerating up at 10 Gs, which would probably kill me, the deflection would be on the order of the width of a proton. Still, it shows that an accelerating frame of reference will bend light. So, Einstein reasoned, light must also bend when it passes a large mass. But where do you find a mass large enough?
Yo, how did he even conceptualize these ideas? Like, how did he even start to think about this shit? Like, when no one else was thinking about any, like, how would you even, like, this Einstein guy needs to calm down. He needs to calm down. Like, how do you even, like, you don't even know about, like, he just invents, like.
Yeah, but how does this all fit into my flat Earth model? Pepega.
Well, it's perfect. It's good. It means flat Earth's accelerating, bro. Like, you know.
Well, the only obvious huge mass near the Earth is the sun. So the ideal experiment would be to look at light passing just next to the sun and see if it is deflected, say, light from distant stars. The problem was, of course, the sun is just so bright you can't see stars right next to it, unless there is a total solar eclipse, which is exactly what happened in 1919. So Arthur Eddington set out to take pictures of the stars right next to the sun during totality. And what he found by analyzing those pictures was that their positions appeared deflected by the precise amount predicted by Einstein's general theory of relativity.
The result was twice the deflection some had calculated using a strictly Newtonian model. And general relativity has passed virtually every test put to it over the past 100 years or so. But there are still more things to try.
A well-known and empirically validated finding is that accelerating charges radiate electromagnetic radiation. So one conceptually simple experimental test would be to compare the behavior of a stationary charge in a gravitational field to a free-falling one. If a more Newtonian picture of gravity is correct, well then the stationary charge should not radiate electromagnetic radiation, but a free-falling one is accelerating and therefore it should radiate. In contrast, general relativity sees the free-falling charge as non-accelerating, it's just going on a straight line path through curved space-time, whereas the stationary charge is accelerating and therefore it should give off electromagnetic radiation. Now, thus far, logistical challenges have prevented anyone from actually carrying out this experiment, but what you believe will happen reveals what you truly think about the nature of gravity. Do you think that a freely falling charge will radiate electromagnetic radiation or not? Is gravity an illusion?
Yep.
This episode was sponsored by Caseta.
There it is, dude. There it is. So, chat, what do you guys reckon? Facebook science fake news or totally rational logical thinking, you fucking idiots?
Fucking thing
Jesus
I have
Christ.
ever heard. This dude smoked all the drugs and your retarded ass is so gullible. That's some flat earth
I
type
don't
shit.
make sense, you fucking idiots. It's like, it's just changing. You're just looking at it differently. Like, the gravity, everything though still applies. It's like, oh, wait, what? So it's just like I guess, a nice unit of measurement we can use? Like, oh, okay. It's easy to make things easy to understand. But I just figured, like, oh yeah, gravity, dude. Like, you know, it's not space-time. It's just gravity, bro. Like, the shit just sucks in and shit, you know, like, it's fucking... and I didn't know. I didn't know. And it seems like most of chat didn't know either. And now they've been proven wrong. They're being proven wrong, and look at them now.
You can
look
say,
at them smirking.
yep, all day and act like you understand what he's talking about, but we all know you don't.
What? What I literally described, what I was describing was exactly that. Just in a slightly less eloquent manner, right? Yeah. I haven't seen him do any of the equations or anything. You know? I mean, that's the main gist of things, though. The main gist of things. Don't watch the sponsorship part of the video. Oh yeah, smart lights. No, just Veritasium on YouTube. He's basically like, he's like Vsauce. If you like Vsauce, you should watch him. He's like the less funny.
You're wrong.
And what the fuck does this shit have to do with that retarded murder
Vsauce.
story on Netflix you spared?
Like, huh? Well, no, there was something else I forgot to talk about that I watched that really fucked me up. It's got nothing to do with
So
it.
what's heavier, a kilogram of steel or kilogram of feathers?
Do you really think I'm gonna fall for this, dude? You really think? Well, obviously it's the fucking.
Yes. Now I understand
Steel,
why the ramping
obviously.
of your damage isn't accelerating.
I'll accelerate my cockney mom's pussy, better shut the fuck up, bitch.